Ready to roll?
Yeah?
Where are we going?
We're going to Okinawa!
Let's do it.
2023 has been quite a challenging year for us, and it was time to create some great memories together by going to Okinawa and relaxing on Japan's beautiful tropical island. In this video, I'll go through an itinerary of what we did during our 1-week trip, what we liked, and also what we didn't like so much. I'll include some of the things we ate, but my wife Yujin will be going into more detail with a separate video on her channel, so stay tuned for that. If you're thinking about traveling to Okinawa, we hope this video will help a little bit to learn about what to expect on this beautiful tropical island. Let's begin with flying to Okinawa. First of all, there are 3 main airports to choose from located on different islands: Naha, Miyako, and Ishigaki. Naha is the biggest city that most people travel to, and it's also located on the biggest island of Okinawa, which there are 160 total, and this is where we traveled to. If you're already in Japan, there are a ton of airports to fly from, but as an example, it takes about 2.5 hours from Tokyo and 2 hours from Osaka. There are also a lot of places in Asia with direct flights to Naha, with the furthest being Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia at about 7 hours away, and the closest being Taipei in Taiwan at 1.5 hours. We left from Seoul, South Korea, and our flight took just a bit longer than 2 hours, so it's about the same distance if you're in Seoul, Osaka, or Tokyo. We booked our tickets for 1 week from November 9th to the 16th with T-Way Airlines through the website Skyscanner, and they ended up being just over 200,000 Korean won each, which is just over $150 USD. That's incredibly affordable for a tropical vacation to escape the cold in November.
On the way to Okinawa. It's a pretty new airplane.
생각보다 아주 좋네. 이게 약간 저가 항공이라서 기대를 안 했는데 이런 것도 이게 뒷받침이 이렇게 되니까 조절하니까 좋네.
Not a ton of legroom on here for me. You're solid.
We arrived in Naha at about 2 p.m. and we were ready to explore.
That's crazy actually, after being in Seoul.
Yeah, it's hot and humid now.
We normally have to do the SIM card here, but we already did that because we were able to order it from Korea online. So we put the SIM card in on the plane so we can go right to the monorail, which is pretty awesome.
It felt pretty surreal arriving in a tropical climate just a 2-hour flight away from Seoul, which was already transitioning to winter. We were headed for the monorail, which is easy to find from the airport by following the signs, and we were surprised to find out that our Ikoka transportation cards we bought in Osaka wouldn't charge up in the machines here. So we had to buy a new IC card just for Okinawa, the Okika card.
First ride.
너무 신기하다.
Oh. It's kind of like a mix of Taiwan and Japan so far, right?
맞아. 그리고 여행의 재미가 시작된 게 진짜 사소한 거잖아. 근데 이미 재미있기 시작한 거야. 지하철 타는 거.
진짜.
We are super excited to be traveling together again after about a year since we last went to Sapporo. We were heading to Kokusaidori, which is the main tourist area in Naha with tons of restaurants and a vibrant nightlife. And just looking out the window of the monorail, you can see the insane organization and cleanliness almost to perfection, a sight pretty much unique to Japan.
와, 레몬행이게.
Horse sashimi?
우와.
Vending machine?
전체가 띵파크다. 나는 이걸 구경하고.
So Okinawa is one of the only places in Asia that has A&W, which is really popular where I'm from in west coast of Canada. So it's been a while since we've had A&W, so we're gonna go check it out after Yujin's amazement.
You leave me alone. Takushi. 약간 감기 뭐 걸렸을 때 먹는 시럽 같은 맛도 있지만 아주 좋아. 왜냐면 우린 오키나와에 있어.
Got the matzo burger.
이제 먹어봐.
It's my favorite burger in Canada. See how it compares.
맛있었어. 그리고 뭔가 사실 A&W를 쉽게 볼 수 없잖아. 근데 여기서 만나니까 진짜 반가웠고.
The A&W here is about, I'd say, 60 to 70% of what you get in Canada. It's not the exact same, but it's definitely worth a try because it's only in Okinawa, in all of Japan and maybe all of Asia too. So now we're going to our hotel and there's a lot of stuff to see.
Our hotel was just a 5-minute walk away from Kokusaidori, which we'll get back to soon. And we booked it by checking on Google Maps for the hotel prices in the area to find the cheapest price and the best location. We found a hotel called the Glanz Inn, and when we arrived, there was nobody at the front desk. And there was an error in the system, so we didn't get any instructions on how to check in. To be honest, we were panicking a bit, and we thought that we wouldn't be able to check in today. But luckily I was able to reach them by phone. And immediately he sent an email with a PIN number to unlock the mailbox and get our key.
잘했어, 탕크야. 이건 너가 원딘.
반대 아니?
아니 문이 무거웠네. 와.
오.
일본의 정말 청소를 깨끗이 한 그런 냄새랄까?
와, 역시 일본이다.
여기 뷰를
괜찮은데?
한번 봐볼까?
Oh, actually not bad. Hey, balconies. Oh,
욕조 있어, 욕조.
nice. 그리고 maybe 세탁기? That's huge.
건조기는 이 건물 아래층에 1층 외부에 있거든? 10분에 1,000원이었어.
It's about $35 American per night here, so it's pretty cheap. There's a separate toilet.
오, 여기 키친도 있고요.
There's a microwave, fridge.
와, 되게 좋네 여기.
가격도
엄청 저렴한 편이네. 여기 넓은 거 치고.
It was now about 5 p.m. and time for us to finally start exploring Kokusaidori. We noticed immediately that there are a ton of used clothing stores around in the back alleyways. And then once you get to the main strip, you are surrounded by tons of souvenir stores, which are all pretty similar, and all have a selection of different Okinawa-themed clothing, mostly of Orion, the Okinawa beer brand, which is my second favorite Japanese beer to Sapporo, and also Blue Seal, an ice cream company that started in 1948 on the US Army base in Okinawa, and spread throughout the island as the most popular ice cream franchise. And the ice cream is amazing for those who are wondering. Instead of going to dinner, we ended the night with a convenience store run, which is one of our absolute favorite things to do in Japan, and we highly recommend it.
무슨 이거? 컵라면.
맛있어?
해산물에 익숙하지 않다면 그 향이 진짜 진할 수도 있긴 있는데 나온 데는 정말 맛있어.
The next day we woke up and decided to get some brunch, and on our way, we stopped in at the 7-Eleven to withdraw money from the ATM, which is an easy recommendation for people with a foreign card like us. We then walked through the alleyways and noticed a lot of similarities to places like Taiwan and Vietnam.
오래됨이 있지만 오래됐다고 더러운 게 아니잖아. 오래됐는데 깨끗한 거야.
Naha definitely has a different vibe to it than other Japanese cities like Osaka and Tokyo. Actually, it almost feels like a different country every corner you take, which makes the whole experience fun in itself. We arrived at C&C Breakfast and tried the souffle pancakes and eggs benedict, which are both amazing and completely worth the 20-minute wait to get inside, especially as there aren't that many breakfast places around. We then took a walk through Heiwa Dori, a massive covered shopping area with more shops, restaurants, and even hidden bars at nighttime. This is a great place to spend some time in, especially if it's raining, which Okinawa is known for getting its fair share of, especially in May and the summer months. We then decided to head towards the ocean to see how the beaches are in Okinawa. It's about a 25-minute walk to the beach from Kokusaidori, and we decided to just kind of wing it and walk in the general direction. but we ended up getting lucky and passing by Fukushūen Garden, which we thought was a random park, but it turns out it's actually a pretty famous spot for people to visit. It costs 200 yen to enter, and when you enter you get the atmosphere that I expected when I think of a Japanese garden. It's really relaxing walking around looking at the koi fish and the nice balance of the pond, the trees, and the traditional Japanese pagodas, and there's even a little waterfall with a cave that goes behind it, which is pretty cool to explore. Honestly, I don't think we would have visited here if we didn't happen to pass by it, but it ended up being a lot better than we expected. We walked further toward the beach and found a great Mexican restaurant called Amigo Tacos and tried taco rice, which is an Okinawan specialty, and it was really good. But our top recommendation would be the chicken tacos, which are made with homemade corn tortillas, and they were absolutely amazing. Our next stop was to check out the beach area. We went to Naminoue Beach, and it's not the most scenic beach to be honest, with a bridge right in front of it, but it looks good for a dip in the ocean as it gets pretty hot in Okinawa sometimes, and its location is perfect for those who are staying close to Kokusaidori like us. Here there are a few things to see. You can head west through the park called Asahigaoka Park, which is nothing special, but it leads to the Naminoue Shrine, which is free. And I always recommend visiting shrines in Japan just to catch a glimpse of the Shinto religion, which is pretty unique, and to see how people pay their respects and pray. It was time to head to the Shuri Castle, which is the palace of the Ryukyu Kingdom between 1429 and 1879, but unfortunately burnt down in 2019 due to electric failure. However, we wanted to check it out anyway, so we started by walking from Kokusaidori, which is about 3 kilometers or 45 minutes, and we arrived at the Kinjo Stone Road, which is built in the 1400s and used to connect the Shuri Castle and Naha port. The walkway is built of limestone, and it's a good way to get some exercise walking uphill to the castle, while seeing a pretty unique atmosphere that goes through a nice neighborhood. There are also some pretty cool hidden paths, and a rest area when you get near the castle with some restaurants, and even a Blue Seal ice cream stand if you're in the mood for one. It was time to see what was left of the Shuri Castle after the disaster. We had to pay 400 yen each to get in, but I'm hoping that our money is being used well to pay the workers to take on the huge task of reconstructing the castle, which looks very complex to do. At the entrance, you can see some of the pieces of the castle that survived the fire. It was pretty crazy that these 2 dragon statues stood standing even when everything else around them disappeared. There is also a pretty nice view of Naha before you even pay to get into the castle, so I'd recommend going up just for the view if you don't want to go inside. We got through the main gate, and as expected, you can see where the castle was and where they're reconstructing it, inside a temporary building. They show off all of the materials, the techniques they use, and just how much effort it really takes to build again. At the top of the castle grounds, you get another nice view of the city. And that was about all there is to see, so we left the castle grounds through the main gate, and that wrapped up our tour of the Shuri Castle area. During day 4 it was our relaxing day, and also editing for our last video. But we came out for a bit back to Heiwa Dori to try some traditional Okinawan fast food, Jeff Burger. We ordered the Nuyaru burger set, which is a burger with spam, egg, cheese, and goya, the bitter melon. It's a vegetable native to Okinawa, and looks similar to a cucumber, but it's kind of spiky and it's really bitter to be honest. It wasn't our favorite, but still worth trying just for something local. And then we went back to Kokusaidori, and suddenly there was a big parade going on. I guess sometimes you can just get lucky and see this kind of thing from time to time. It was now time to head out of Naha and explore the island a bit, and go to one of the things that Okinawa is most known for, the Churaumi Aquarium. We found a bus that heads there called the Okinawa Airport Shuttle, and it leaves close to Kokusaidori at the Kencho Kitaguchi or Okinawa Prefectural Government Office bus stop. It leaves about every hour or so, but I recommend trying to take the express bus if possible, as it takes just under 2 hours instead of the almost 3 hours it takes to catch the normal bus. And just so you know, this bus is cash only, and it's not cheap at all at 2,000 yen to get to the aquarium. And on this trip, we made the realization that Okinawa is not shaped to do little day trips from Naha via bus to see nature around the island. That's because it's a very long and skinny island, and as you can see, most of the southern half where Naha is located is surrounded mostly by cities. We got to the aquarium in about 2 hours, and it looked like no other aquarium we had seen before. It's almost like a big theme park from the outside, and we were pretty hungry and noticed that there aren't that many restaurants near the aquarium, but we found an all-you-can-eat buffet for 2,200 yen each. Not cheap, but it ended up being a really good way to try a bunch of different Okinawan specialties at the same time to see what stands out, and then you can go try one of the places later within the city that you really liked. We also got lucky with an amazing view that overlooks the ocean. And now it was time to enter the aquarium. It cost just over 2,000 yen, which is less than $15 USD to get inside. And we intentionally waited for a weekday in hopes that there would be less people. However, it was still pretty crowded, even in November, which isn't exactly peak season in Okinawa. The aquarium has a decent assortment of fish tanks to look at, but you spend a lot of time waiting in line or trying to see through the crowds. It wasn't anything particularly special until we got to the big tank with a whale shark and a few manta rays. This was clearly the highlight of the entire experience, and it was really cool to look at. There was even a cafe called the Ocean Blue Cafe that you can pay 500 yen for 40 minutes of time in addition to drinks, but you have to reserve on site every day starting at 8:30 a.m. And honestly, other than that, there's a dolphin show with very limited seating and some really small tanks with sea turtles and manatees, which was a little depressing to look at, to be honest. I'd say if you're with a family or love aquariums, give it a shot, but this is an aquarium only worth going to once in my opinion. After spending an entire day traveling to the aquarium, we started to realize that it'd probably be best just to check things out within the city of Naha. Japan has a huge history of electronics and anime, and one of my absolute favorite things to do is to go to secondhand stores to check it all out. We took the monorail about 15 minutes from Prefectural Office Station to Akamine Station to check out Manga Suko, a massive secondhand store that has pretty much everything you can think of, from old watches and accessories, secondhand clothing and shoes, anime goods from a variety of generations, and of course, video games. This is a nice place to spend 30 minutes to an hour just to look around if you're interested, but we didn't buy anything here because it wasn't that cheap overall. We then went all the way up to a place that appeared in one of Mark Wien's videos called Takaisu Soba. We wanted to do a little test just to see if the places that guy goes to are legit, and we were pleasantly surprised. We tried the Okinawa Soba, a local specialty of handmade soba noodles in a light savory pork broth with egg, green onions, and very soft and tender pork.
맛있어?
너가 진짜 좋아해.
Alright.
This is one of the best meals we had on our trip, and we highly recommend it. So thanks for the tip, Mark. We ended the day by going to the American Village, a tourist spot in northern Naha that's supposed to replicate America, I guess, but it's mostly just a shopping area to buy goofy American themed goods or to take pictures at for Instagram or something. It was a bit crowded, so we just grabbed some snacks at the convenience store and looked out at the ocean. The American Village wasn't really our style, to be honest, but there are a lot of people who enjoy this kind of thing, and it even has a Red Lobster if you want to check out some classy American cuisine. At the end of our trip, we had a big realization. We had been doing a lot of walking in the neighborhoods between tourist spots, and just exploring the city was actually one of the most fun things to do, so I want to put it out as my absolute top recommendation. Japan has its own way of living, and you get the strongest sense of it while just roaming around. You get to see the regular people, what kind of houses they live in, the stores that people shop at, which are also usually the best places to find hidden gems. You can walk through random parks and see people going for walks and living their day-to-day lives. And you might find a massive camera store like the big camera store we found here. The tourist spots are really similar between each country, and I totally understand why people enjoy going to them. But walking through the streets is the absolute best way to get a real feel for a country and how its people live. And lastly, it's time to end our amazing trip back at Kokusaidori to show its true beauty, the nightlife. We spent our last night checking out the famous Steakhouse 88, which isn't the fanciest or most expensive restaurant or anything, but it was a great place to spend our last night. We both ordered the tenderloin steaks, which you can pick your size and how you want it cooked. They came fast and they were incredibly juicy, came on a hot plate, and they were served with mashed potatoes, green beans, carrots, and corn. It's not the best steak I've had in my life or anything, but worth it just to spend the last night in Kokusaidori style. Then there's the main street itself. And just as I was talking about how you shouldn't only go to tourist spots, I also don't want to completely steer people away either, because Kokusaidori is one of the most fun places we've ever been to, and the perfect place to relax and enjoy the nighttime for people of all ages, single or not single. It's vibrant and filled with a huge variety of things, and some things I never thought I'd ever see in Japan, like the stalls selling CBD just like you'd see in Thailand. And then there's Norengai, an indoor place with tons of izakayas or Japanese bars themed like a food market, with tons of vendors trying to get you to stop at the shop, kinda like what you'd find in Korea to be honest. And then when you venture into the Heiwa Dori shopping arcade, you find little bars tucked away in the corner, with small groups of office workers drinking and chatting the night away together, which is something almost straight out of the TV show Midnight Diner, which is awesome for those who haven't seen it. And then on the main street, there's street food, goofy gift stores everywhere, snake alcohol, and of course Don Quixote, the famous gift shop found all over Japan. You can find everything you can think of when you think of Japanese nightlife here, and our favorite thing to do was just to keep walking around the streets and people watching. This is the part we'll remember the most, and why I think you should stay near Kokusaidori, at least for a couple of nights to soak it all in. A vibe unique to Japan, but not uniquely Japanese, with tons of influence from the outside world, making for an unforgettable experience that we'll fly back to Okinawa someday just to see again. And that wraps up our trip, and the 20 things that we did and recommend. We hope this video was helpful to plan your trip to Okinawa someday, and if you want to support us, you can like the video, subscribe to see more similar videos in the future, and consider supporting us on Patreon if you have the financial flexibility to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon in another video.